Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Welcome to the reading lesson for the fourth week. This week you will learn on paraphrasing. Before we begin, here are the learning objectives for this week's lesson. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to paraphrase. Second, students should be able to restate content by applying different word forms. And lastly, students should be able to paraphrase using synonyms. As you have learned some of the reading skills last week, and this is one of the skills which is cohesive devices. So, to refresh your mind, let's see the definition of cohesive devices. Cohesive devices are the tools of cohesion with the main function to achieve unity of the text. Now, these are the types of cohesive devices that apparently you learned last week. As I mentioned before, they are not only useful for writing, but also very useful in paraphrasing a text. First, we have here reference. Second is transitional words or phrases. Next is repetition of key terms or phrases. Next is the synonyms. And followed by sentence patterns, ellipses, and substitution. Now, when we think of paraphrasing and summarizing, somehow they sound identical. Let's see if there are any differences between paraphrasing and summarizing. So here, paraphrasing and summarizing, both of them taking ideas, words and phrases from a source and then crafting them into new sentences, and credit is always given to the author. However, for summarizing, will include condensing the source material into just a few lines. So here we can see that the differences between both of these skills is that summarizing is when you make the summarized version shorter than the original version, and you always need to state the author's name whenever you quote them in your writing. So maybe you are now in wonder on when you are going to get to use this. So you're going to use these skills especially when you start writing for your evaluative commentary article starting on the 7th week. So let's see the details explanation of paraphrasing. To paraphrase is to include ideas or information from an original source in your work by restating those ideas or information in your own words. Second, when you paraphrase, you need to retain the original meaning. And then your answer usually about the same length as the original version. And when you paraphrase, it needs to involve the change of structure and the words used. And you paraphrase in order to avoid plagiarism in your writing. While paraphrasing, always remember to include all important ideas mentioned in the original passage, but not in the same order. Second, you need to keep the length approximately the same as the original version. Next is do not stress any single point more than another. And do not change the meaning by adding your own thoughts or views. And lastly, do not use the original sentence structure. In order to paraphrase the text well, here are the 5 steps that you can follow. First is you need to understand the passage thoroughly. Second, you need to outline the passage, or you can subdivide the information given in the text, and then you can restate the information in your own words. And please make sure to stay faithful to the meaning of the source. And next is you need to cite appropriately and integrate the paraphrase into the text effectively. Now we are going to look into step-by-steps in detail. First, you need to understand the passage thoroughly by read several times to understand the text thoroughly. Next is you need to take down important notes and you can refer to the dictionary. And please ensure your understanding by exchange the thoughts in your writing. Second, you need to outline the passage or subdivide the information. By outlining, and you can subdivide information into smaller sections. And you must make sure to include all the important ideas mentioned in the original passage. The third step is you can restate the information. You can replace as many of the words as possible with appropriate synonyms. And sometimes you may have to substitute a phrase for a word and vice versa. And always keep in mind that most words have more than one meaning and association. So it is very important to consider the text in the context. And please avoid to use inappropriate synonym as this may change the entire meaning of the passage. So in this case, other than using dictionaries, you can also use the thesaurus. And you can change the order and structure of the ideas or arguments. You can change the structure of the sentences. So by doing this, it will reflect that the new sentence is yours. And please ensure to not change the meaning by adding or leaving out any important information. Now, the fourth step is always make sure to stay faithful to the meaning of the source. So make sure it is accurately represents the main ideas. And please make sure to not change the meaning of the original source. The fifth step is cite appropriately and integrate effectively. So you will do this when you make preparation for your evaluative article writing. And then make sure when you do your citation, make sure that you follow the APA style for the citation. And then look for ideas in integrating paraphrase information and make sure they are coherent. Other than the steps given earlier, here are some more ways for you to paraphrase effectively. First, you can use different vocabulary with the same meaning. Second, you can change the word order. The third one is you can change the form of the words. And lastly, you can change from active sentence to passive sentence. Now we are going to look into detail for each step. The first step is you can use different vocabulary with the same meaning. So we call this as synonyms. So synonyms, as you learned before, are different words that have the same meaning. And you can replace the words with the same meaning in order to produce a new sentence. For example, my car needs petrol, so you change to my vehicle requires fuel. And as you notice in this sentence, 3 out of 4 words are replaced with synonyms. Alright, and these are the words that have been changed. My car changed to my vehicle. And then this word needs, you change to requires, and petrol, you change to fuel. So you can also try to replace most of them. So we can consider this as the good paraphrasing. Now here is the most common method and it can be used effectively but should be careful. So the biggest mistake students make is trying to paraphrase and the word having a similar meaning but not the same meaning. And only use the words you are 100% sure about, and please make sure to not change a word unless you are 100% sure that it is a direct synonym. For example, violent crime is on the rise among teenagers, and you change to violent offenses are rising among young people. So what is the problem here? Okay, so you need to know for teenagers age, it is supposed to be around 13 to 19 years old. And for the young people, the age should be around 18 to 30 years old. So the correct paraphrasing is, violent offenses are rising among adolescents. Now we have the next example. All right, and then you need to think about this sentence. It can be difficult to choose a suitable place to study English. And when you try to change, you change to, it is often a challenge to pick up a relevant school to learn English. All right, look at the words that you have changed. So you change a word, choose, and you change to pick up. So suitable, you change to relevant. Alright, these two words do not reflect the actual meaning. And it should be, it is sometimes hard to select an appropriate place to learn English. Step number 2, you can change the word order. By changing the word order, you may have to add a word, subtract a word, or you can change the form of the word. So don't change the word order without thinking about how this affects the grammar of the sentence. So there are two ways to do it. First, you can change the order of the clauses if the original sentence has more than one clause. Second, you can change the word order if there is an adjective or noun in the question. So you can simply changing the adjective into a relative clause. Okay, let us look at the next example. First, you can change the order of the clauses. And the sentence is, as languages such as Spanish, Chinese, and English become more widely used, there is a fear that many minority languages may die out. And you change to, there is a fear that many minority languages may die out as languages such as Spanish, Chinese, and English become more widely used. So as you notice here, the last sentence in the first sentence here, you move to the beginning of the sentence. So this is what it means by change the order of the clauses. Alright, next is you can also change the adjective into a relative clause. If the original sentence has an adjective and noun, you can change the adjective into a relative clause. For example, writing essays can be a challenging task, and then you change to, writing essays can be a task which is challenging. So here, okay, we can see that you can change the adjective into a relative clause. So next is you can change the clause of the sentences. For example, if they have some help, most people can paraphrase effectively. However, practice is important because paraphrasing is difficult. Okay, so should we change the clause or should we change the adjective to relative clause? Alright, and the new sentence is, most people can paraphrase effectively if they have some help. So if you notice in the first sentence here, you change some of the phrases. For example, most people can paraphrase effectively. You bring this sentence to the beginning of the sentence. And then if they have some help, you bring this sentence to the second location in the sentence. And then the next sentence is, paraphrasing, however, is difficult, so practice is important. And here again, you make some of the changes. Okay, so paraphrasing is difficult. Okay, you bring to the beginning of the sentence, and practice is important. You bring the sentence to the last sentence here. Now, the third step is to change the form of the word. So you could change the word from nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. For example, Longer lifespans and improvements in the health of older people suggest that people over the age of 65 can continue to live full and active lives. And the new sentence is, longer lifespans and improvements in the health of older people are suggesting. Okay, so please focus on this new word, that people over the age of 65 can continue living full and active lives. So this is what it means by you can change the nouns to verbs or verbs to adjectives or from adjectives to adverbs. Alright, based on this sentence, what do you think here? The most effective way to build your English skill is to study regularly. And there are two clues given to you. The first one is to build, and then the second one is study. So the new sentence is, the most effective way of building your English skill is to do studying on a regular basis. So the word build, you change to building, and then study, you change to do studying. And then regularly, you change to regular basis. So based on this sentence here, sometimes you need to add some words. Okay, so the fourth step is to change from active to passive voice, or you can change from passive to active voice. In this sentence, people say that global warming is caused by the burning of fossil fuels, and then you change to global warming is said to be caused by the burning of fossil fuels. So the change has been made here, starting with global warming is caused by the burning of fossil fuels, and then you bring this whole sentence to the beginning of the sentence. And then the second change is people say that you change to is said to be caused by the burning of fossil fuels. So this is what it means by change from active to passive voice. So here is another example of changing the active form to the passive form in this sentence. To improve English, you should learn new vocabulary on a daily basis, and then you change to improve English, new vocabulary should be learned on a daily basis. And you should notice the only part that has been changed is you should learn, and then you change to should be learned. Let's try something more complex. So this is the original passage. Statements that seem complementary in one context may be inappropriate in another. For example, women in business are usually uncomfortable if male colleagues or superiors compliment them on their appearance. The comments suggest that the women are being treated as visual decoration rather than as contributing workers, according to Locker 2003. So remember the steps that you need to follow in order to paraphrase. First thing, you need to reread in order to get your understanding. You can take some notes, and then you can also use the dictionary. So what are the key points? So these are the key points based on the passage earlier. The first point is appropriateness of statement is situational. And then the second point is, example given in the passage is that working women may view compliments about appearance as an offensive. And then the third point is, these compliments can be offensive because they may imply women are decoration. Now let's see paraphrase A based on the earlier passage. Paraphrase A. Words or expressions which appear favorable in one situation might be improper in a different situation. For instance, employed females are often uneasy when they are given positive comments on their looks. These remarks imply that the females are being viewed as adornment instead of as productive employees, according to Locker 2003. Alright, although this paraphrase does a good job of changing the wording, it is not effective for two main reasons. The first one is it follows the sentence structure of the original passage too closely. And second, it fails to mention anything about male colleagues or superiors. It also follows the same order or structure of ideas. Now let's see paraphrase B. Some statements may be inappropriate in one context, even though they are complementary in another. Compliments by male colleagues or superiors regarding a female co-worker's appearance, for example, often make the woman feel uncomfortable. Instead of treating the women as contributing workers, men obviously think of them as visual decoration, according to Locker 2003. Alright, while this paraphrase does a better job of changing the sentence structure, it also is ineffective. So the reasons are, it uses too many of the words from the original passage. Further, it changes the meaning when it declares that men obviously think of them as visual decoration. It also follows the same order or structure of ideas. Let's see paraphrase C. Women may feel uneasy upon receiving ordinarily positive comments on their appearance from male co-workers or supervisors. To these women, the remarks carry an implied meaning. Instead of being thought of as productive employees, they are actually being viewed as just a pretty part of the atmosphere. Depending on the situation, words or expressions which appear favorable may actually be unsuitable in a conversation, according to Locker 2003. So this paraphrase is the most effective one. In addition to changing both the wording and sentence structure, it includes all points and retains the meaning of the original passage. It also changes the order of ideas. Before we end our lesson today, and right after watching this video, it is time for a quick quiz to check your understanding of the lesson you have learned today. So first, you need to use your phone and scan the QR code, and the code will bring you directly to the Google form. Next, you need to follow the instructions given in the Google form. And lastly, you need to answer all questions. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. I hope to see you again in the next lesson.